Hello everyone and welcome to the final video for the HAES reading group. This is Intuitive Eating, a revolutionary program that works. And this is going to be my Monday video. I'm only uploading 2 videos this week and for 2 weeks after this week. And the reason for that is I just want to take a little bit of a breather. We're going to be focusing mostly on non-fat logic content. I'm going to give a couple of other Reddits a try and just one to try to test some diversified content out so that way I'm not only covering fat logic stuff. Not that I don't enjoy it, but there are times like now where content for that area is running dry and I'd like to be able to keep my upload schedule. Speaking of my upload schedule, though, so it'll be 2 videos this week, next week, and the week after. After that, I'm only going to move up to 3 videos a week, and the reason for this is because 4 videos was really difficult. You'll probably notice, especially in the last couple of weeks, has been really difficult for me to stay on schedule at all with that last video, and so 3 is much more manageable for me. But I figured we could use a little bit of fat logic fasting after this week, go down a little bit on uploads so that way when it comes time for the HAES reading group, we can really dive in and enjoy. So let's get started. If you could cash in every diet like a frequent flyer program, most of us would have earned a trip to the moon and back. The nearly $60 billion a year weight loss industry could finance the trip for generations to come. Ironically, we seem to have more respect for our cars than for ourselves. If you took your car to an auto mechanic for regular tune-ups and after time and money spent, the car didn't work, you wouldn't blame yourself. Yet, in spite of the fact that 90 to 95% of all diets fail, you tend to blame yourself, not the diet. Isn't it ironic that with a massive failure rate for dieting, we don't blame the process of dieting? So, very interesting. Once again, we have this, but I find it interesting that the book does not give a citation of where this percentage came from, but fine, whatever. But I'd like to see if there's a differentiation between fad diets like Atkins and keto, and I know keto has medical benefits, but let's face it, most people used it as a fad diet. And I'm wondering if they include those stupid juice cleanses. And I'm sorry if you're a juice cleanse person. I think it's dumb, and I think it's an exorbitant amount of sugar to intake and just run on basically sugar. I don't think it's a good idea. But I'd like to know what is included in that 90 to 95%, because if we're going for the crash diets, if we're going for the weight loss pills, if we're going for the fad diets, and I think at one point enemas for weight loss was a thing. If we're including all of those things, then yeah, I could see how the 90 to 95% could add up. But if we're talking, calories in, calories out, and I would even throw Weight Watchers in there. I mean, I know Weight Watchers isn't ideal, and some would consider it a fad diet as well, but I think Weight Watchers is basically calories in, calories out for people that find calories in, calories out too overwhelming. So I would like to know what is covered when you're talking about 90 to 95% of all diets. Because you can say all diets, but what constitutes a diet for the sake of this argument? Because if you're including those dumb cleanses, and I'm sorry, I know I keep calling them dumb, but I just think that they're so dumb. If we're including cleanses and stuff with the diets that are meant to be short-term anyway, I would like to know what's included in this 90 to 95%. Initially, when we venture into the world of private practice, we did not know each other. Yet, separately, each of us had remarkably similar counseling experiences that caused us to rethink how we work. This led to a considerable change in how we practice, and years later was the impetus for this book. Although we practiced independently of each other, unknowingly each of us got started by making a vow to avoid the trap of working with weight control. We didn't want to deal with the issue that was only set up to fail. While we tried to avoid weight loss counseling, physicians kept referring their patients to us. Typically, their blood pressure or cholesterol was high. Whatever their medical problems, weight loss was thought to be the key to treatment. Because we wanted to help these patients, we embarked on the weight loss issue with a commitment to do it differently. our patients would succeed. They would be among the small 5 to 10% success group. We tried to create beautiful meal plans according to our patients' likes and dislikes, lifestyles, and specific needs. These plans were based on the widely accepted exchange system commonly used for diabetic meal planning and weight control. We told them this is not a diet, for even back then we knew diets didn't work. We rationalized that these meal plans were not diets because patients could choose among chicken, turkey, fish, or lean meat. They could have a bagel, a muffin, or toast. If they really wanted a cookie, they could have one, not 5. They could fill up with free foods galore so that they never had to feel hungry. We told them that if they had a craving for a particular food, they could go ahead and eat it without guilt. But we also reinforced gently, yet firmly, that sticking to their personalized plans would help them achieve their goals. As the weeks went by, our clients were eager to please us and followed their meal plans. We weighed them each week, and finally their weight loss goals were met. Unfortunately, however, sometime later, we started getting calls from some of these same people telling us how much they needed us again. Somehow the weight had come back. Their calls were very apologetic. For some reason, they couldn't stick to the plan anymore. Maybe they needed someone to monitor them. Maybe they didn't have enough self-control. Maybe they just weren't any good at this, and definitely they felt guilty and demoralized. In spite of the failure, our patients put all the blame on themselves. After all, they trusted us. We were the great nutritionists who had helped them lose weight. Therefore, they had done something wrong, not us. As time went on, it became clear that something was very wrong with this approach. All our good intentions were only reinforcing some very negative self-effacing notions that our patients had about themselves. That they didn't have self-control, that they couldn't do it, therefore they were bad or wrong. This led to guilt, guilt, guilt. By this time, we had both reached a turning point in the way we counseled. How could we ethically go on teaching people things that seemed logical and nutritionally sound, yet triggered such emotional upheaval? Yet, on the other hand, how could we neglect an area of treatment that could have such a profound effect on a patient's future health? As we struggled with these issues, we began to explore some of the popular literature that suggested a 180 departure from dieting. It proposed a way of eating that allowed for any and all food choices without regard for nutrition. Our initial reactions were highly skeptical, if not downright rejecting. We reacted with self-righteous indignation. How could we, as nutritionists, registered dietitians, trained to look at the connections between nutrition and health, sanction a way of eating that seemed to reject the very foundation of our knowledge and philosophy? The struggle continued. The healthy meal plans were not helping people maintain permanent weight control, yet the throw-out nutrition approach was a dangerous option. The suggestion to ignore nutrition and disregard how the body feels in response to eating whatever you want discounts the respect for one's body that comes along with the gift of life. Eventually, we resolved the conflict by developing an intuitive eating process. This book is a bridge between the growing anti-diet movement and the health community. While the anti-diet movement shuns dieting and hails body acceptance, thankfully, it often fails to address health risks. How do you reconcile forbidden food issues and still eat healthfully while not dieting? We will tell you how in this book. If you are like most of our clients, you are weary of dieting and yet terrified of eating. Most of our clients are uncomfortable in their bodies, but don't know how to change. Intuitive eating provides a new way of eating that is ultimately struggle-free and healthy for your mind and body. It is a process that unleashes the shackles of dieting, which can only lead to deprivation, rebellion, and rebound weight gain. It means getting back to your roots, trusting your body and its signals. Intuitive eating will not only change your relationship with food, it may change your life. We hope you find intuitive eating will make a difference in your life. It has for our clients. In fact, when our clients learned that we were writing this book, they wanted to share some specific turning points with you. Be sure to tell them that if they have a binge, it can actually turn out to be a great experience because they'll learn so much more about their thoughts and feelings as a result of the binge. Tell them that taking a time out to see if they're hungry doesn't mean that they can't eat if they find they're not hungry. It's just a time out to make sure that they're not eating on autopilot. If they want to eat anyway, they can. When I come to a session, I feel as if I'm going to the priest for confession. That comes from all the times I used to go to the diet doctor and I would have to tell him how I sinned after he had weighed me. This isn't coming from you. but the inner food police. I feel like I'm out of a prison. I'm free and not thinking about food all the time anymore. Sometimes I get angry because food has lost its magic. Nothing tastes quite as good as it did when it was forbidden. I kept looking for the old thrill that food used to give me until I realized that my excitement in life wasn't going to come from my eating anymore. With permission comes choice, and making choices based on what I want and not what somebody else is telling me feels so empowering. After giving up binging, I ended up feeling pretty low some of the time and even rageful at other times. I realized that the food was covering up my bad feelings, but it was also covering up my good feelings. I'd rather feel good and bad rather than not feel at all. When I saw how much I was using dieting and eating to cope with life, I realized that I had to change some of the stress in my life if I ever wanted to let go of food as a coping mechanism. Sometimes I have hungry days and sometimes I have full days. It's so nice to eat more sometimes and not feel guilty that I'm going against some plan. I get so exhilarated when I see a food I used to restrict. Now I think it's free, it's there, and it's mine. I'm so glad you're writing this book. It will help me explain what I'm doing. All I know is that it works. When I'm in the diet mentality, I can't think about the real problems in my life. This is the best I've ever taken care of myself in my life. Mindful eating versus intuitive eating. Is there a difference? When the first edition of Intuitive Eating was published in 1995, the term mindful eating was not in the public vernacular. Consequently, we used the term conscious eating to describe the process of being aware while eating. 4 years later, in 1999, the first mindful eating study was published. We actually now often use the term mindful eating because it has become commonly used and practiced. The Center for Mindful Eating states that mindfulness in eating includes allowing yourself to become aware of the positive and nurturing opportunities that are available through food preparation and consumption by respecting your own inner wisdom, choosing to eat food that is both pleasing to you and nourishing to your body by using all your senses to explore, savor, and taste, acknowledging responses to food likes, neutral, or dislikes without judgment, learning to be aware of physical hunger and satiety cues to guide your decision to begin eating and to stop eating. When intuitive eating includes the principles of mindful eating, it also encompasses a broader philosophy, addressing the issues of cognitive distortions and emotional eating. It includes seeing satisfaction as a focal point in eating, physical activity, movement for the sake of feeling good, rejecting the diet mentality, using nutrition information without judgment, and respecting your body regardless of how you feel about its shape. Intuitive eating is a dynamic process integrating attunement of mind, body, and food. There's something about the way that's phrased I don't like. For those who struggle with eating issues, both mindful eating and intuitive eating can help facilitate normal eating. And then we're in chapter 1. So that didn't take too long. This is one of those ones where I feel... So I wanted to check. I wonder if this is where that 90 to 95% comes in. So I was thinking about that while I was reading. But there's nothing here that seems like inherently horrible, I guess. This is something that I definitely would want to read through. And I think if we did, we would pair it with the intuitive, with like regular looks at the intuitive eating tag on TikTok and maybe some other social media platforms, just to kind of, actually I really like that idea. So we would read a chapter, try to see what their point was, and then compare their philosophy with how it's actually practiced through social media. I think that would be really interesting, don't you? I like that idea. So that's what we would do if we covered this. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. Thank you for watching. Sorry it will be kind of scant on uploads for the next few weeks, but keep a lookout on the community tab for regular polls because we're going to go until we settle on one. And I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.